Patrick Walker, CEO of the Australian Sports Foundation. Thank you for joining us today.
Great to be with you, Martin.
And we're talking really about the narrative of how we've got to change the way we look at funding for sport and recreation for the next 10 years. We heard recently Matt Carroll speak at the press club about how there was a shortfall of about $2 billion in terms of if we want to be successful in a decade's time. 2 months ago, we heard Royal Lifesaving saying that they needed $8 billion to make pools safe and look after the legacy from our 56 games. What do we need to do differently, Patrick? And you're at the heart of all of this. So can you guide us?
Well, I hope so, Martin. Look, I think the first thing to just accept is there's always going to be a gap between what is needed and what governments can afford to fund. And it's not that sport is being singled out here. It's you look at discussions around the level of JobKeeper, investments in aged care, investments in infrastructure. There is always going to be this gap between what governments can afford and what the cause needs. So I guess where ASF comes in is enabling and facilitating greater philanthropic giving to sport to help fill that gap. Now, over the last 2 years, we've achieved a tremendous increase in the amount of money given to sport from around 40 million 2 years ago to 80 million. But that just really barely scratches the surface of what we believe the market is for philanthropic funding for sport. And I guess what we really want to talk about at the National Sports Convention is the size of the opportunity and how sport could best position itself to take a share of that growing revenue source.
And we talk about the philanthropy side. We seem to be behind the arts. They seem to have been doing this for many years. What can we learn from them to fast track us forward?
Well, I think we can learn a lot, Martin. I mean, the first thing we can learn is the arts raises over 300 million a year, every year, from philanthropic causes. I ought to mention as well that the federal government, has launched a strategy to double philanthropic giving by 2030. So the numbers I'm talking about are slated to grow in the years ahead. This is a large market and a growing market. I think there's lots of reasons why the arts and sport are very similar. And the first thing is that people actually don't give to the arts. What they do is they give to the theatre that they love, a particular museum, or a particular gallery. And sport, as you can easily imagine, has exactly the same deep personal connection with donors that the arts does, and the arts leverages so successfully. Now, when you ask why isn't sport getting the same share of the philanthropic dollar as the arts is doing, we've just recently done a survey of thousands of donors. And the number one reason they don't give to sport is because they're currently not asked. So the reason the arts is so successful is that they actually engage with their members, supporters, and their communities, and they ask them for support. So we need to educate sport and support sport to be able to do the same.
Well, that's absolutely brilliant. And I'm sure when people come down to the NSC in July, the big question they're going to ask is, how do we ask people for the money in a respectful way?
That's what we're there for, to help them through those difficult moments.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And we look forward to seeing you at the end of July at the NSC.
Looking forward to it, Martin.